Hi, I'm Danielle, and this is my husband Eloy, and this is Pastor Dog Pablo, who will be joining us today when we deliver a word.
So we're going to be continuing on our series of breaking down well-known Bible stories and hopefully trying to make them understandable to you and relatable to you, so you can help you understand a bit more about God's nature.
And relate a bit more.
And relate. If I missed that right apart, then absolutely relate. So we're going to today we're going to talk about the miracle of Jesus walking on water. Now, for most of us, all we know is that there was a storm and then Jesus walked on water, and that was something that proved he was the Son of God. However, as with everything in the Bible, there's so much more than what you will see on first inspections and on what people will tend to typically tell you, especially any sort of educational system. So we're actually going to be going into the King James version of it. For anyone that wants to look at the Bible app, it's Matthew 14, verses 22 to 34. So I'm just going to read it out and we're just going to break it down. Now, straight away, Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. When the evening came, he was there alone. So we're just going to set the image of this. This was just after the miracle of the feeding of 5,000, the famous story where he turned some bread and a couple of fish into food, which fed 5,000 people, and they went out and gathered a basket each, or 12 baskets each worth of food. Now, straight after this, they are now in the Sea of Galilee, which is a big lake in Israel. And he then sent the disciples across to the other side via a boat. He then went up onto a nearby mountain to go spend some private time and prayer with God. So that's what you can picture has happened now. He's now away from his disciples. He's separated from them. He sent them on their own task, on their own journey. So we continue reading. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. Now, for those of you that don't know Old English, fourth watch is basically between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. So this is the middle of the night, this is the darkest hours, this tends to be the ghost night, and this is at the time when their boat was being buffeted. Now, they didn't have a great big cruise ship, no. They had a traditional fishing boat, rowing boat, nothing substantial. So when it says the sea, they were being tossed by waves and the wind was contrary, that means the wind was being aggressive. The waves were being huge and was bashing them about. And they were fighting the sea. They'd been awake all day with Jesus, praying over people, helping Jesus perform miracles by praying and laying hands. They fed 5,000 people. That's a lot of people to distribute food to. And that wasn't just people, that was 5,000 men, not including women and children. So it would have been easily 15,000 people. So that's a lot of people they fed and a lot of food they then had to walk around and gather up. So they would have been pretty tired from doing their work, and now they're battling the sea. Now Jesus is up on top of a mountain from a viewpoint of observation. You can imagine the disciples would have been quite scared, tired, exhausted, probably thought they were going to die. They had no idea how they were going to come out from it. Now, they would have been rowing for, let's say they left before night fell, because it says when night fell, Jesus went up. So they left in the afternoon. So they would have left about 5 p.m., 6 p.m. before sunset. They were rowing for 9 hours. They would have been physically exhausted. Now, for anyone who's rowing is a pretty fast sport. You don't really walk faster than you row. So this is where it's pretty cool. So Jesus was up on the mountain he saw that they were struggling. So Jesus went unto them walking on the sea. So he saw they were struggling, he saw they were scared, and he walked there. Now, two things to picture: walk. When you walk, it's because you're calm, you're enjoying, you're not panicked, you're not scared, you're filled with confidence. You walk to places because you have nothing to worry about.
You would only run if you were nervous to get somewhere or apprehensive to be somewhere.
Or felt like you were in a rush.
Yeah.
So first of all, he walked there. So he's like, I'm just gonna bop across and chill, you know. And secondly, like, actually, hold on a minute. It's like, Jesus, you were up on a mountain, and then you caught up with 9 hours of rowing. That's some pretty miraculous walking.
Yeah.
So people would just say, oh, he walked on water. No, you kind of forget the fact he came down a mountain and then caught up with 9 hours of rowing.
Yeah.
After they'd been rowing for 9 hours. You know, that's what is that? So it just shows his character that he will be in high places watching over you, and when he sees you struggling, he will walk to you and be there for you, and he does it with full confidence that he knows everything's going to be all right. Now, when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "It is a spirit," and they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spoke unto them, saying, "Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid." Now, that's quite a nice thing to look at, that sometimes Jesus comes to you at times when you're scared. That at a time when you may not recognize him for Jesus or for God. You don't know what it is, but something has just reached out a hand to you and you feel scared and you don't recognize it. But then you then have to understand, how do you recognize Jesus or God? So he'll tell you, do not be afraid. That's the key thing.
One of the things that you'll see I'd say almost every time in the Bible, when either an angel in the Old Testament or Jesus was visiting someone, the first thing they would say would be, "Do not be afraid." Angel Gabriel said it to Mary, they said it to the shepherds when they visited them, they said it to Jacob in the Old Testament. So it was a common theme that would be over and over. When God's presence would visit someone, it would say, "Do not be afraid."
Trying to see if I can actually find it where it is in. It's in Luke somewhere in the beginning when the angel comes to Mary. Is it here? And the angel came in unto her and said, "Hail, thou art highly favoured, and the Lord is with thee. Blessed thee art thou women." And when she saw him, she was troubled and cast her mind. And the angel said to her, "Fear not, Mary." So whenever God comes to you, there will always be a message of do not fear. It actually then goes on to it later on about false angels and false prophets and stuff like this. But just know that if something scary comes out to you, you may not recognize him at first, but you will just have a feeling of no fear.
Perfect love casts out all fear.
Correct. Now, when you then look forward to it, you then say, "And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water."
In English?
So in English, so now they're on the boat, they saw someone walking, they're like, "Oh, it's a spirit." And Jesus says, "No, it's cool, it's me, I'm just walking across the water, just as you do." And then Peter, who was, famously most people will know that Peter was the rock upon which Jesus said he would build his church.
Peter was a loudmouth, and I relate highly to Peter.
Yes, Peter
was always the one who was very outspoken to Jesus.
He was the yippee dingo, as we like to say.
Yeah.
He liked to talk and show off, and the whole rock thing is a different mistranslation, but different story. So Peter then goes, Jesus, if that is you, call me and I'll come out to you. They're still in a storm. On the water, in the middle of the sea, where they only, at night, between 3 and 6 a.m, it's pitch black. And he says, "Okay, Jesus, if that's you, tell me to come and I'll come out to you." So it's very symbolic of when we're in a time of fear, panic, we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know how we're going to get to the other side, because most of us don't know how we're going to get to the end of this corona pandemic. We can't see how we're going to get to the end of it. All we see is waves buffeting us, debt being put on our heads, wind blowing us the wrong direction as career paths get closed. We have no idea what we're going to do. But then suddenly something comes towards us and we're like, "I'm scared, I don't know what that is." But then it says, "Hey, don't have fear. It's me, it's God, it's Jesus." So you then say, all right, God, if that is you, call me, I'm going to come out to you. Which is what Peter does. So Jesus said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. People don't tend to tell you that part. People are like, yeah, Jesus walked on water and that's all we get. But what we forget is, hold on a minute, Peter also walked on water. So Jesus called him out to him and said, okay, come on then, come across. So Peter steps off the boat and starts walking on water. So Peter also performed a miracle of walking on water. And he said, come. When Peter came down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. So right now in these times, when you hear God or Jesus call out to you to do something, it may sound ridiculous, like walking on water, but just do what he says.
Maybe something like, hey, go and give the biggest tithe you've ever been asked to give.
Maybe something like that. It can be a case of, hey, that person over there needs a meal, buy them some food. It can be a case of, apply for this job that you're totally not qualified for and it's totally out of your depth. What do you have to fear?
Hey, renew your rental contract even though you don't know where your money's coming from for the next payment.
Yeah.
It could be crazy things that you don't understand.
Well,
but if God tells you to do it, you have to step out.
And you step out into faith. Now, what's cool is Peter now shows us what not to do, which is really good because the Bible is full of stuff of like tells you what to do, but when you look deep as well, it also shows you what not to do.
Good lessons.
So when he saw, this is Peter, the wind boisterous. So he saw the wind was blowing, so he's walked out, he's like, ooh, I'm walking, I'm doing it, Jesus. And then the wind goes, and he's like, ugh. He sees the wind. He was afraid and beginning to sink. So he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him. So Peter was walking, he did it. But then he looked around him. He took his eyes off Jesus. He focused on the wind. He focused on his empty bank account. He focused on his rejection letter. He focused on his, you've been made redundant. He focused on his empty food cupboards. He focused on his mounting debt. He focused on the negative things that people were saying about him. Or he focused on the fact he was alone and depressed and listened to those voices that were bringing fear. Instead of keeping his eyes on the voice and the person that said to him, fear not, it is I, he focused on the things that was bringing him fear, which is why he sank. Now this is where Jesus then gives us that pearl of wisdom. O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? So when Jesus and that spirit that says to you, have no fear, calls you to do something, have no fear. Do not listen to the negative voices, the negative wind, the waves around you that look like it's trying to crash you down. Keep your eye on God. Keep your eye on Jesus, the thing that's called you to that task, and he will carry you through it. The minute you take your eye off him is the minute fear creeps in and your miracle ends. So Peter, like through risking his own life, said, you know what, I know in 2,000 odd years, people are going to need to know what not to do, and I'm going to prove this by almost sinking. Now, when you then go on to it, you then see, and when they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased. So he must have got quite a way, because Jesus had to help him, and then they both had to go back into the ship. So he did go a long way. Then they were in the ship, came and worshipped him, saying, of a truth, thou art the Son of God. So this gives you the true clue as to the story of the parable of Jesus walking on water. It wasn't him walking on water to show off, to prove that he was the Son of God. No, it was to give a demonstration of how we need to behave when we're in a storm. So the thing is, he told the disciples to leave. So he was separated from them. Now, whether that be you're a believer and right now you're not hearing or feeling the presence of God, or whether you're like, actually, let me just try this God thing for the first time. You haven't had any relationship with God, so you're fully separated from him. But he's always up on a mountain praying to God our Father on our behalf.
Watching you. He's always got his eye on you, no matter where you are.
And he sees that when you're in your darkest hour, between 3 and 6 a.m., that final quarter, he sees that you're panicking, you're scared. He will walk out to you in full confidence. Where you will then go, God, if that's you, tell me to come and I'll come. Now when you do that, you then have to keep your eyes on Jesus. Keep your eyes on the truth of God. Keep your eyes on the promise that he gave you. Do not let what's around you provide distraction and allow fear and doubt to come in. Because that's what they're going to try and do. Because you are now performing a miracle. You're now performing what people said couldn't be done. The other disciples would have been on the ship going, Peter's lost his mind. What's he on about? I'm going to go walk out to you. Like, he's been rowing for too long. I told you we should have ended his rowing shift an hour ago. He's now gone delirious trying to walk on water. Right? Like, if you was there, you would have been like, what's he on about? What's he been, like, drinking? Like, he's been had too much seawater. So, people around you are going to say, no, you're mad. Why are you stepping out into this storm? But you've got to have that faith and know that he is going to rescue you. Now, if you mess up and you drop the ball and you get attacked by fear and it goes wrong, he's still going to save you and you end up back where you are. You end up back on the ship. But now Jesus is with you, and the minute Jesus steps on the ship, the storm calms down. Now note, when Jesus steps on the ship, they worship him and praise him and recognize him as the Son of God. And that's when the full peace comes and the storm ends. So I really hope that this has helped you understand the story of Jesus walking on water. It wasn't just a miracle of him walking on water to showboat that he's God. That's not God. He doesn't have to showboat to us. He's God. Like, who's he trying to impress? He doesn't need to impress us. It was a story to show us how we should behave during a storm. And right now we are currently in the biggest storm, arguably, in human history. So we need to look at these clues as what we should be doing.
And I think for me the most reassuring part is knowing that he's always there. So even when they were on the boat, he was on the mountain. So if you think about that position, as Elo's already said, it's a high up position. He could see them. He could see where they were at all times, and he was already there praying. He was already praying to the Father on their behalf. So even if you feel like you're so far away from God right now, even if you feel like there's so much distance between you and this storm is surrounding you and engulfing you and you can't reach Jesus, he'll come to you. He's still got his eye on you and he will come to you, and all you have to do is say yes, and he will call you out towards him. But he comes 99% of the way to you. He is right there whenever you need him. He's always watching and always waiting for the perfect opportunity to come and enter into your life.
Yeah. And if we look at it, that's such a beautiful point. And if you look at it from a fleshly perspective, he walked down a mountain in the middle of the night and across a stormy sea. There is no depths that he wouldn't walk to help his disciples.
His children.
So now that he's been raised up, there's no depths he won't reach out to. There's no sin barrier. There's no I'm too bad. There's no I'm not worthy. That's not a thing. Because in flesh, he walked down a mountain in the middle of the night and across a stormy sea to help his disciples. So for us now, there's no I'm not worthy. There's no I've sinned too much. There's no I've done too much. He's not going to help me. Because there's nothing he won't do to come and help those he loves. And he loves us all. It's in here. He wants every single one of his children to return home to him. So when you're in this storm, don't let the fear, don't let the waves, don't let the wind buffet you. Keep your eye out for the Lord. He will come to you. And when he does, feel that presence that brings no fear. And
Just say yes.
Just say yes, step out in faith. And when you see the storm has calmed, praise him, for he is the Son of God. You want to end us in prayer?
Father, we thank you that you sent your Son. We thank you that you sent him, that he died for us and he rose again for us because you just love us infinitely, because that's just who you are. Father, we ask that this message reach the ears that it needs to reach, and that in this season that we are in, that you just go out to those people who are in need right now. Those people who you've already got your eye on, Father, we just ask that you just show up for them, and that they just really feel your presence, that when you show up that they just know that it's you and that it's your presence, and give them the courage and the boldness to say, yes, I will come. We just pray blessings upon everyone who's watching this video, Father. In Jesus' name.